Okay, Toronto. Okay. Toronto beat Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2 last night in overtime in a game that was just kind of a game. It was more like, it felt like, I don't know, it was just missing something, which is weird because it's Austin Matthews trying to get to 65. It's Sidney Crosby trying to bring the Pittsburgh Penguins into the playoffs. And I felt it was just kind of like a game, as in like a mid-season game, not like the final, what, fifth or fourth final game of the season for both teams, where like a bunch of stuff's at stake anyway for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Um, yeah, it was just for me a casual game. I could just watch, and maybe it was because there was no worry for Toronto, like they've clinched for me, and I was just like, whatever happens, happens. I think maybe that might have been the mindset. Maybe it wasn't the game. It was just I had this relaxed mindset because for me, like home ice advantage versus Florida or whatever, that's not going to matter for Toronto. Let's be honest. Um, and then I was kind of like, back of my mind, I remember a voice note from my buddy saying like I want Toronto to win because obviously I'm a Leafs fan, but at the same time, the storyline of Sidney Crosby putting like the Pittsburgh Penguins on his back. Like I think they said he has 50 points since January 1st or close to it. Like you're like, yeah, like I don't want to go against Toronto, but at the same time, like it's not going to ruin my world if Pittsburgh, gets a point or two out of here. And you know what? Pittsburgh did get a point. And then Toronto won in overtime, and I was like, yeah. So obviously I wanted Toronto to win. Um, but at the same time, I do, I kind of want Pittsburgh to sneak in there, and I love that story of Sidney Crosby bringing them back. So we'll go to the game anyway. So Raquel scores early on a Benoit turnover. Malkin gets it. Raquel does a little like spin and fires it. Puck on edge, knuckles it to the top corner. Good luck, Samsonov. Great screen by Michael Bunting, who is a Pittsburgh Penguin, who scored that big goal against Tampa Bay. Yeah, I watched that game the other day when Pittsburgh had a 4-1 lead. Gave up the 4-1 lead. It was 4-4. Then Michael Bunting made it 5-4. So, of course, he's in here for this first goal. He drew a penalty. He did a bunch of other stuff. He's been working for Pittsburgh and Kyle Dubas and Jason Spezza. So that made it 1-0. Second period, Jeff Carter and his lack of defense showed, and Matt Nyes put his stick one way, then put it the other way. Jeff Carter was a little bit slow, so he still went the one way when Nyes had already put it the other way. And TJ Brody's like, I'm going to pass it to you now. And it was just a tap in to make it 1-1. And then Pittsburgh got a penalty, and the Leafs got on the power play, and John Tavares won it straight off the draw. I saw people comparing John Tavares this season with Brady Tkachuk this season, and you got to remember that, like, just I'm gonna go on a rant here. John Tavares is like, he has one more year on this big deal, but at the same age, John Tavares was like, he was lights out doing stuff for New York. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on. Anyway, he wins the draw cleanly to Matthews. Matthews does like a little one-footed slap shot. There's a screen. He scores at the 65th. It's phenomenal. And it's 2-1. Then Pittsburgh does fight back. They do claw back. The game is quite even in shots and stuff. The first period was a snog for a little bit. Slog for a little bit, by the way. Oh, God, it was boring. No one could do anything. Shots were like 2-0 for the first like 7 minutes, it felt like. Anyway, but Pittsburgh climbs back. It's like 21-21 in shots, and next thing you know, it's like 28-21 Pittsburgh, and they're going for it, and O'Connor finally gets one. Sam had to make a couple big saves last night. This one, I think it hits off his like left pad, and maybe hit off the defenseman a little bit, sneaks beyond him. O'Connor gets body position on McCabe. McCabe goes toppling over Samsonov and O'Connor. O'Connor scores to make it 2-2. Yeah, and then we go into overtime. It was like survival mode for Pittsburgh. Let's get at least the point, and they do. And they go into overtime, and they do what the Leafs used to do, which was like Leafs used to start like comp, right? And like defensive guys in case they lose the draw, / they want to win the draw, then they get off. Pittsburgh does the same thing, and they win the draw, but they have Lars Eller out there. And instead of changing and putting Crosby and Malkin out, they leave them. And then they go down and they miss the net. And then I think they take a terrible shot where they screw up a pass. And then Toronto has possession the rest of the overtime. And then Matthews finds McCabe all alone, and a beautiful backhand forehand through the 5-hole. I think that's what happened. Then they won. And everyone's going, where the hell is Sidney Crosby? Sidney Crosby didn't touch the ice in overtime. The guy who's brought you there. I know someone wrote like, oh, he was having skate problems. Screw it. Sidney Crosby on one leg is better than what you had out there. You win the draw, you get changed, and you bring out the offense. Do you know what I mean? So really weird on Pittsburgh's end there. So someone fumbled the bag there. Well, at least fumbled overtime. So Leafs win. They now have, 99 points, I think? 99 points. That was awesome. Sweet. McCabe. Caber gets the OT winner. Awesome. Austin Matthews, 65th. Matt Nyes has now, 16 goals, 35 points, or 15 goals, 35 points on the season. Great rookie season for him. Especially, he started up the top line. He's played, third line minutes since then. Since, the start of the season, anyway. That's good. And then, Pittsburgh got a point, so they have, 78. So, that final spot in the Metro, so the Islanders and Pens, I think, are tied in points now, but the Islanders have a game in hand, if I can remember correctly. And then, Washington and Philly are, a point behind. Philly has the same amount of games as Pittsburgh. Washington has a game in hand. And then Detroit's got that last, the wild card spot. So it's that third spot in the Metro and that last wild card spot. That's the battle. So it is interesting. That is going to be one big battle for the final wild card and Metro. But for the Leafs, we know we're going to play Florida. It's going to be Florida. It's got to be. So keep it up, Toronto. Comment down below your thoughts on the game. Thanks for watching. Go Leafs, go.